We had heard that one of Thailand's historical parks had become Thailand's newest World Heritage Site. Thep in Phetchabun province had gained that honor. The name Thep is made up of two words. Si, sometimes spelled Si and sometimes Sri, is an honorific meaning holy or honorable. And Thep is the Thai word for angel. Thep Park is the home of very ancient Khamer ruins, estimated at between 1 and 2,000 years old. The ruins are very old, and they are nothing like the architecture found at Sukhothai, Si Sachinalai, or Ayutthaya, which are Thai ruins, or Pimai, Buriram, or Lopburi, which are reminiscent of Angkor Wat in Cambodia. Thep is much older than all of them. Since it had only become a World Heritage Site a few weeks earlier, we thought that we could go there and be some of the first to enjoy it. In that, we were quite mistaken. We're at the Chiang Mai bus terminal on our way to Lomsak, which is the capital of Phetchabun province that has a sort of new national park called Thep. It contains a ruin from the Khamer age about 1 to 2,000 years ago, long before the Thais ever came to Thailand. On our way to a mini adventure. Our mini adventure begins at the Chiang Mai bus station. It turns out there is no other way to get to Phetchabun from Chiang Mai. There are no flights and the trains don't go near there, so the bus was it. The various tour companies go to just about every destination in the country. Our tour company said that the ride would be about 6 hours from Chiang Mai through Sukhothai and Phitsanulok and then to Lomsak. We would have to stay at Lomsak for a night and then on to Thep. Long, but doable. But that turned out to be a lie. We got into Lomsak about 10 hours later. No stops for food or bathroom breaks. Ever try relieving yourself in a 30-year-old bus bouncing down the road? If it wasn't such a bummer, it would have been hilarious. I could have dealt with it in my 20s. In my 70s, not so much. It became a bus ride from hell. The next morning, we hired a taxi to take us the 3-hour drive to Thep. I was thinking that I could have flown to Paris in the time it took to get here. It turned out that the trip was well worth it, though. We piled into one of the 6 electric buses that the Ayutthaya Historical Park had lent Thep. Our driver took us through the landscaped areas, beautiful trees with some ponds. And then we came across the ruins. They're quite old and not much left of them, but we can see the foundations of some of the temples. And behind us, there's the huge mound. We'll be looking at more of that later. Our electric bus led us off at the little museum that had an exhibit of a skeleton of a person who was living here 1,000 years ago. You could see by the crowds that we were sorely mistaken about how many people was going to show up here. Now it was time to walk the ruins. Over 1,000 years ago, long before the Thais moved into this area, the Khamer people had established settlements here. The Khamers lived mostly in the northeast, in places like Pimai and Buriram, but even as far north as Lopburi. You can see in those ruins the Khamer-style architecture, especially in the tall jetties. But before those Khamer settlements was the one here in Thep. Historians aren't sure who exactly these people were and exactly when they first came, maybe as much as 2,000 years ago. And like any ruins I've visited, the use of good imaginations help us see what life must have been like so long ago. But lots here is left to the imagination. The ruins here are much older, and because of that, mostly all you see are the foundations of buildings and temples. All the tops were probably made of wood, and they're gone long ago. The foundation stones here are not sandstone like in other places, but laterite, called silalang in Thai. This is an interesting building material. When dug out of the ground, it is quite soft and malleable, so they're cut into stones. But after exposure to the air, it becomes hardened and a good building material. The ruins here are situated in a well-kept, manicured forest garden. If it's not too hot, a pleasure to walk around. The centerpiece of the ruins is this mound. No one is really sure what it is. Is it a temple, a jetty, or a tomb? It's about 10 meters tall and about 40 meters in length, and made up completely of laterite. The other side of the mound shows that this was a structure, possibly religious of some kind, and having strange carvings, unlike anything I've seen before. It turns out that a lot of the big crowds we encountered were made up of school children on class trips from Bangkok. The electric buses brought us back to an impromptu market where we could get some food and refreshments. Very Thai style. We're finishing up our tour of Thep Historical Park. I expected to find a sleepy, old historical park with not very many people here. They haven't really found it yet. Instead, there are thousands of people here, although there's only 3 foreigners, which is kind of interesting. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you later.